Good afternoon, friends. Tony Pellegrini and Laureen Graves here with Elevating the Classroom, a legacy of teacher preparation at SUU. We have enjoyed this podcast series over the last year and a half or so. It's been dedicated to celebrating and exploring the century-long tradition of teacher preparation at Southern Utah University. This series has highlighted the vital relationship between pre-service teachers and experienced master-mentor teachers in K-12 schools and beyond. By sharing stories and insights from both sides of the partnership, our podcast is aimed to underscore the impact of this collaboration and cooperation in teaching and learning for students and teachers in Utah and beyond. So excited today. We have as our guest Dean Pam Powell. She's our Dean of the College of Education. And we want to look to the future. We've looked to the past for the last 100 years or so, over the last few times, but we want to look to the future with Pam. So Pam, would you take just a moment or two and tell us a little about your past and a little bit about the fun you're having here at SUU?
I'll be glad to, Dr. Pellegrini. I spent 22 years in the elementary classroom prior to coming to higher education. I taught physical education for 2 years in Texas, and then in Arizona, I taught for 20 years, first grade, second grade, multi-age, and I was also a reading specialist. I absolutely loved what I did. I loved being part of children's lives. I loved seeing them across multiple years, and I'm still in touch with many of my students on Facebook.
I love that.
After
teaching, and in the classroom, I have to interrupt for a second,
yes.
But in the classroom as well, tell us about your experience out at South Elementary with the principal out there. And
oh, my goodness.
Do you mind sharing that?
I don't mind sharing that. I met the principal of South Elementary about a year and a half ago, and I talked to him about how thrilled I was to meet him because I'd heard such wonderful things about him, and I love his school because it reminds me of my own elementary school that I attended. Well, I attended 3 of them because I was a military dependent, but the last one it reminded me of. Anyway, he asked me where I was from, and I said, well, I lived in Flagstaff, Arizona for a while, but before that, Gilbert, Arizona. And he said, well, my wife is from Gilbert, Arizona. And I said, what's her name? And when he told me her name, I said, oh, do you have some brother-in-laws named... And then I named her three of the brothers that I had in first grade. And I said to him, you just call them and tell them that you talked to their first grade teacher today. So it wouldn't have been as unique, I think, if I'd still been in Arizona. But here in Utah, I thought, wow.
It's a small world in education, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I apologize.
Yes.
I cut you off. Please keep telling us a little about yourself.
Well,
I'm so sorry.
No worries. I had the opportunity to go to Northern Arizona University where I earned my doctorate. And the last year, I had a 1-year position there. I was finishing my dissertation. And anyway, so that ended up being 20 years. And I loved preparing pre-service teachers there, and many of whom I'm still in touch with as well. And I've been here at SUU for about 2.5 years now.
Thank you so
and
very
already
much.
have made such a huge difference. We're so grateful for you as our dean.
Been pulling us together. It's been wonderful.
Awesome.
Would you start, Laureen?
You bet.
Thank you.
Pam, we're looking at, kind of the emerging trends. What are some of the most significant emerging trends in education today, particularly in the context of teacher preparation, since that's our college? And then how are these trends reshaping the roles of educators and learners?
Well, when I go in to observe student teachers, I see a huge change from when I began, which was over 40 years ago now. And I see lots of changes in the use of technology, for example. I also see a lot of changes in what students are expected to do. We often talk about how the curricula has been escalated and put down into lower grades, academic escalation. That is still happening, but many of the students are ready, and many of the students need a little more assistance. And I think that's something that we can't forget about, that all students don't develop at the same rate.
Mm-hmm.
All children don't develop at the same rate. All adults are not developed at the same rate. And so to have the expectation that everybody should be at one point all at the same time is probably pretty unrealistic. So in our teacher preparation, I'd like to talk about some of the areas that have not changed in order to talk about what changes we need to make. So Some of the things that have not changed include the fact that we need to meet learners where they are. We need to know who that learner is, what he or she needs, and we need to meet them there so that we can take them where we want them to go. That's something that has not changed. What has changed is the vast amount of information that students now have, the access to a lot of technological devices, even my own grandchildren. I can't get one of them off his phone, for example, and he's not talking on the phone. He's playing games, et cetera, on the telephone. And so I do worry a little bit. I quite frankly, I worry a lot about that and what we can do to help alleviate that dependence. Of course, I'm on the phone all the time as well. In fact, when we came in here, I bet I checked my phone 4 times. So it's all around us.
Yeah.
So we also, I think, need to stay abreast of the current research. We need to stay abreast of current practices that are effective and age and stage appropriate. So I think developmentally appropriate practice, which really is terminology that stemmed from the early childhood world, is valid across a person's lifetime, that we need to be working with children and all learners in ways that are effective, that produce the results that we want to see. So we want students to be able to demonstrate their learning that in multiple ways. That means assessing them. So again, these are all things that are good practices that have been around for a long time. I do think that we're facing some things that we've never faced before. I think the use of AI is one of those things that we really haven't faced before. But of course, new math was a big thing when I was in school. You too, Tony.
Oh,
and
my
everybody
goodness.
was so afraid about that. So
And whole language and oh my
all of
goodness.
those. We've lived across multiple fads and phases, and now often what's old is new again. So I think it's important not to throw the baby out with the bathwater and to take the best of what we know into where we are and learn from that. As teachers, we are responsible to stay abreast of current theories, current strategies, current ways of teaching. I think that's incumbent on us. And in terms of teacher preparation, that's part of teacher preparation as well. That's our responsibility to stay current.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Just for anyone listening, we forgot to mention we are in a recording studio that is supposed to be soundproof. However, the construction crew did not get the schedule to stop while we record our podcast. So if you hear some weird sounds, like we're just embracing the renovations going on around us.
It is not Tony's tummy, I promise you. Laureen, I'm going to move ahead a little bit to just kind of capitalize on what Pam has shared here. Pam, talk to us for a moment or two, if you would, about what insights can experts share. You talked about we need to look to the future. We need to tie that to the past as well, too. But about the future of teaching and learning, are there specific predictions? I'd love to see, from your viewpoint of what you've seen in the past and looking to the future, I'd love to see what predictions or forecasts regarding the skills and competencies that educators will need in the next decade. How are we preparing our teachers to be able to be great master teachers in the next decade?
Great question. One thing that surprises me about students nowadays, children nowadays, is the vast amount of things they know. Often my grandchildren assist me with something on my telephone or on the television or something like that. So they're very far ahead in certain things. And I think from when I was in school, and probably you, Tony, maybe you too, Laureen,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed that there was, I'm trying to look for the word, it was, for lack of a better word, a little more slow-paced than it is now. And I think that we have to be aware of that. I've often heard people talk about entertaining students. And I don't think we entertain them, and I don't think that that's what they want. I think students want good communication and want relevance, and I think they also want opportunities, maybe more so than ever before, to demonstrate their knowledge in different ways. And I think that's important to listen to. I think some of the things that happen in schools nowadays, with so much collaboration between teachers, with PLCs and other learning community kinds of activities, that we're more focused on data and how data can inform our practice and students' learning. And when I started teaching, we did not have standards.
Can I interrupt for just a second? I have to give just a couple of examples from my own past, because I'm getting up there too. But I grew up in the Northeast. I grew up in Connecticut, and I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm a Red Sox fan because in second grade, when the Red Sox made the World Series, everything in my teacher's class stopped. And we did not have the internet. We did not have cell phones. We had TV, black and white TV, and he'd reel the black and white TV. He'd get the old antennas working so that he could watch the Red Sox. And we all watched the Red Sox, and it became a common, something that we had in common, something that brought us together. Was it reading, writing, and arithmetic? Maybe not, but it was something that was so important for us to have. A little bit later in my career, I was teaching at middle school, Fremont Middle School, junior high school in Las Vegas, on the borders of Nellis Air Force Base. And over 75% of our students had parents in the Air Force and were deployed at that time in Desert Storm. And when Desert Storm started, everything stopped in our classroom. We had to turn on the TV and watch what was going on. Those kids wanted to know where their parents were and what they were involved with. Was it reading, writing? I was a reading specialist. Was it reading? I tried to pull reading in as much as I could, but it was important to them. I had to make learning and life important to them. So I think those things, you brought up technology as such an important component, and our kids are really immersed in it. I think it's going to have impact upon our learners' lives in the future as well, too, whatever that future may bring to us. Sorry, taking too much Tony time.
Oh, I love it, because you're talking about relevance.
Yeah.
And you're talking about when things are relevant, students often are more engaged.
And I think they're appreciative as well, too. They see you as a human being, and it's just wonderful.
I think one thing that doesn't change is that we're teaching a collective, but we're also teaching individuals. And we really need to know where each individual is, the needs of each individual, the strengths of each individual, in order to engage them in learning and in order for students to have the opportunity to understand what learning feels like. And, when you're a student through 12 grades and then college as well, it feels like education is done to you often, not with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's really important too, that we're engaging our learners in not just the curriculum that we hope that we're delivering and they're catching, but we really need to find out if they're really engaged.
So just to follow up with that, our next question has to do with that, is what advice do you have for teachers, and especially, in our teacher preparation program, how can we prepare teachers to meet the needs of all these different individuals? Because there are so many different needs and so many different ways to meet those needs. So what would your advice be to help teachers be able to meet each individual where they are?
I think the expectation that all children will be on the same page, as I mentioned earlier, that's an assumption that we need to probably dispel when students are in our care and in our charge. I also think that we can prepare them very well by helping them understand how to differentiate their instruction, how to deliver their instruction, how to assess, to find out whether or not students have mastered the concept. I also think that we can be much more mindful about universally designing our learning. So universal Design for Learning, I think, is a wonderful platform.
Yes.
And it's not one thing. It's not an overlay. It's not one thing, but it's really learning about the principles and applying those in your classroom, most likely incrementally, because you can't do it all at once. And I think our students need to understand that you're not going to be that stellar teacher right out of the chute. You've got to hone your craft. You have to reflect. I think that's vital that teachers reflect on what they're doing, communicate well with their, I'm getting off track here, but communicate well with their students as well as their families, their parents, whoever their caregivers, and that our students have, our pre-service teachers will have 25 to 30 students for a year or for 9 months, and they will have more time, awake time with those students than their parents will. And that's an awesome responsibility. And I say this over and over again. I've said this to all the pre-service teachers I've ever worked with, that we have to take that awesome responsibility seriously. And there are things that are very frustrating about teaching, and this season of the year is a particularly active time, shall we say. And that's hard. That's hard. But the bottom line is that life is fast-paced and life is unpredictable. And to assume otherwise will not help us as teachers.
Oh.
And I think if we can focus on those individuals, yes, we have to teach the whole group, but if we can at least take time to ponder and consider each individual's needs, that shows the compassion and the caring that we do have for each of those.
I think that word is key, compassion, because we don't know what a child is carrying, we don't know what our colleagues are carrying, and we really do need to demonstrate that compassion.
And through our time with them, we can learn and discover that. I think we're getting close to
Absolutely.
the end. Laureen, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Well, just if there was any other advice, Pam, that you have for, aspiring teachers, practicing teachers to stay relevant and effective in their practice.
Well, I'd really like to ask Tony a question.
Yes, absolutely. We definitely want to get to that.
Oh, okay. I just think that change is inevitable, that teachers, once we earn our degree and we're in a classroom of our own, we still have, I believe, an obligation to our students to be continual learners as well.
Absolutely. I love that.
And that we need to make sure that we realize that children, if there are issues or behaviors that we don't like to see, there's probably something going on, and we need to think about that. No one is plotting to come to school and irritate others, and so I think we have to realize that we all have good days and we all have days that aren't as good as we would like, and sometimes getting down on the ground on your knees with the first grader to figure out what's going on is what's needed.
Yeah, I always tell my students, sorry, Tony, to see the good, to focus on relationships, and when there's a behavior that you don't want, the first question needs to be, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, some
Absolutely.
discipline. They don't
Absolutely.
need that right now.
Nope, they don't. And those are wonderful opportunities to model that for whether they're first grade to 66.
Exactly.
We need that model of being a lifelong learner, and we're going to continue and grow and learn and develop the best we can.
It's a privilege to work with children. It's
Absolutely.
a privilege to
It
take
is a
them.
privilege.
We have 9 months out of a child's life. What a privilege that is.
That is awesome. Well, today we had an exciting day, didn't we, Pam? We were able to celebrate Tony Pellegrini for his 25 years here at SUU.
Incredible. It's gone so fast.
It's amazing. And so we thought it would be fitting as our last podcast, Tony, you and I, that we're probably going to do. And I've loved doing this with you. And Pam, what a great guest to have as our last guest on this little adventure we've had together. But Tony, we're going to turn it on you And Pam has a great question. I'll have
I
her
will
ask.
put on my iron underwear. And
Oh, dear.
Well, this is a question that actually I have in mind to ask many people.
Yes.
Okay.
But I want to hear it first from you. Why did you choose education and why did you stay?
oh, a person, Patty Husted, my drama teacher in high school at Monticello High School. I'm not going to sing you the fight song. You
Well,
know
we
I
know
could.
it,
darn
you
it.
know it by now. But Patty got me to believe in myself. She got me to believe that I could do things, and was living with an adopted family. They loved me. They put me to work, but I didn't want to dig ditches the rest of my life or haul hay. And so I wanted to be like Patty. And so I went to school and I tell just as you tell all your learners certain things and you tell learners the things I tell my learners is find someone that loved you enough to teach you and to help you grow, and share that with every job interview you ever have. And I promise you get that job, because it's about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's about people. It's about who inspires you. And today we saw people that inspired me and people that I inspired back. It's a two-way street. That love and inspiration and respect and courtesy go both ways. Does that help, Pam? Did I answer that?
Why did you stay?
Why did I stay in education? Oh, well, as a,
And don't say it was the money
or fame or glory.
or fame or glory. Just don't say it.
I will not say it because it was not. As a novice teacher, as a first-year teacher teaching 9 months, yes, they pay you over the 12, but it's hard to fund a growing family on that. And so, summers I worked on the paint crews for the school district. Evenings I worked at Walmart selling TVs. I saw other things that I could do, but again, it goes back to those relationships, those individual, knowing where kids are coming from and seeing there's a little bit of Tony Pellegrini in that little guy or that little girl. And I want to encourage that or quash that down. I try not to quash too much, but it's just been a joy. And my wife said to me as she came, she said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're doing podcasts. They won't be able to see you." If you've seen Tony Pellegrini, I have not missed many meals. I've been able to provide for my family and beyond and others. But it's just a joy. And retirement's going to be tough. I've got to still find some way to keep teaching, keep serving, keep lifting, keep encouraging, because that's what gives me life. That's what gives me purpose and joy. Did that help?
It's beautiful.
I love it. I love it. Well, Tony, I wish they could see your face, because you have a light about you and joy. And so that's my question to you. This is, of course, a podcast for educators, for teachers. And what is some advice that you can give to help teachers find joy in teaching? Despite all of the crazy, to find joy every day.
and this is a little bit too much for some, but I'm just going to stick my big toe in it and just be a little bit metaphysical. I think I can use that word. For me, joy is happiness, but with the added level of metaphysical, a beyond the body, a beyond if I can use it, a spiritual enjoyment. It's something beyond what we can physically feel. It's hard to explain to different people, but if you are trying to make others happy, yes, I have to provide for my family. I have to, I have to work. Providing is so important for me to make sure that my family is well taken care of. But it's beyond that. It's beyond. It's doing. I find joy in helping others and encouraging others and lifting others. I had a student just last night. We were doing a master's defense, and she said, "I'm in this program because you encouraged me to. Others were telling me, don't take that program. You can't do that." I said, I apologize. I don't remember that.
Right.
But I'm glad I was positive with you, because you are amazing. Look at what you've done. Look at your project and what you've developed and how you're going to help others and how you're going to lift others.
You never know the impact of your words, right?
And lifting people up and being positive only helps. Being a deputy downer or saying, yeah, I can see, we can all see our faults and our shortcomings and the things that we struggle with. But
And
we
what's
don't-
wrong with education
Oh,
or with your teacher or with your
with
whatever.
me or whatever.
There's
but
so many things. Yeah.
There are absolutely so many things. But if you can just look to the positive, and as a principal, I loved walking into teachers' classrooms and saying, "Oh my gosh, I love it when you're getting your kids to read. I love it when you do that." And in the next classroom, "Oh, what wonderful art project. I love what you're doing." It's so much better than, "Oh, how come your kids are scoring 50% on their spelling test?" It's if you can focus as much. Yes, we all know the things we're struggling with or the things that we're doing, and we need to be maybe reminded from time to time, but rarely as possible, and just see those wonderful, beautiful things that are going on in others' lives and in our lives, and enjoy those moments. And your joy will increase and develop and be wonderful. Does that help? Did I answer that?
Absolutely. And it really is an intentional choice. I think we have to choose to see the good and to find the joy. The world would have us go otherwise, and I think a lot of that, they go to the negative. But that is great advice, Tony, and we're so blessed to have had you as a colleague and in our college. Any final words?
Keep at it. Don't give up. You can do this, Pam. You can do this, Laureen. Nathaniel, you can do this. If you need a cheerleader, call Tony Pellegrini, because just like Patty cheered me on, I love cheering people on. And set a goal and achieve it appropriately with righteous means. An old Italian cousin, Machiavelli, said, "The end justifies the means. It doesn't." You use good things to help you achieve your goals, and you'll only get the right things that need to happen to you.
I love it. Well, thank you, Tony, and thank you for all your years of service. So, elevating the K-12 classroom, a legacy of teacher preparation at SUU. We have tried to honor the long-standing traditions of excellence here at SUU. We also wanted, hopefully, have shed some light on some powerful connections that shape the future of education. And so as we've gone through these different guest speakers and conversations, we hope that this has been helpful to provide some valuable insights in your own transformative journey as a teacher and or a mentor, and to celebrate our shared commitment to fostering educational excellence. So thank you so much, and thank you, Pam, for joining us today.
We appreciate you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Tony.